Hello, and welcome back to the Energy to Heal podcast. I am Laura Milliken. If you're new here, I'm a master's level Splankna practitioner, and I talk about all things healing. We all know that life is hard, and ideally, all of us would have grown up in a family with amazing, connected, loving parents who spoke so much identity into us and taught us all these coping skills for life and how to process emotions properly and how to have healthy relationships. And that just is not the case for everyone or a lot of us. So we dig into those things here because it's never too late to learn it. You might be in college listening to this, learning for the very first time how to have healthy boundaries for yourself, or learning for the very first time that it's okay to take up space and have a different opinion than the people around you. This podcast in general is a lot of Splankna content. If you don't know much about Splankna, Splankna is an inner healing faith-based modality. And I like to describe it as kind of like a subconscious reset. Your subconscious mind has a big job of trying to keep you safe your whole life. And in doing so, sometimes it gets tripped up, and things that are maybe no big deal can start to feel like huge threats to your subconscious mind and start to act like triggers. And years go by and you can become wrapped up in anxiety or anger or low self-esteem, all because of these events that happened to you many years ago. So in Splankna, we undo that wiring and we reset the conscious mind. But honestly, I have people come into my office every week and we have 1 hour together. And we're doing these subconscious resets and we're refocusing their brain on something else, getting them untangled spiritually and mentally from past events that are keeping them stuck. But it's like the hour goes by so fast because I'm like, I have so much more that I want to talk to you about and teach you, because we may have untangled this spiritual thing, but you still have never been taught how to put down a boundary, or you've never been taught how to have a healthy relationship. And so I use this podcast partially as a way to take clients deeper. After the Splankna session is over, this is the content I wish I could just sit and talk with them about, because over and over and over again, I'm finding people that have just never learned these skills. And of course, I am still growing in them, but I will happily share with you what I've learned because it has changed my life. I am not the same person as I was growing up and in high school. I'm a middle child. I just grew up in the Midwest. Everything is avoid conflict. And it really took getting into my adult years, being married, because, you know, when you live with another adult, it is all day, every day. You have to learn how to work through conflict and hurt feelings and, hey, I didn't mean that, and all the things that come with marriage if you expect that marriage to last any amount of time. Same thing with friendships, same thing with parenting relationships. You got to learn how to work through the hard things, or that relationship either won't go very deep and it'll feel very empty and surface level, or it won't last very long. So today we are talking about boundaries, how to set them. What are they? How do you know if you have them? Have you ever felt like setting boundaries makes you a bad Christian? Or like saying no is selfish? Even if you're drowning, even if you are like, I cannot breathe, I can't keep up with my own life. And here comes somebody and they say, oh, hey, can you volunteer at church on Thursday? And you're just, to your own despair, you hear yes coming out of your mouth and you want to like take it back instantly. I lived that life. And now I've got a family of my own. We've got 5 kids, ages 4 to 13. Like the drowning experience, I do feel that often. So I have had to learn how to say no very effectively, because my capacity for extra things in life right now is just very, very small. So today we're going to break down what healthy, holy boundaries look like, because boundaries are not separate from being a good Christian. We're going to talk about why they're not only biblical, but also essential to emotional health and spiritual authority. Even Jesus had boundaries. So we're going to get into that, because if Jesus had boundaries, we get to have boundaries. My main goal for this is to help you guys have deeper relationships that you don't resent, and to take away this level of intensity and exhaustion that some of you feel because you have not given yourself permission to have boundaries before. All right, so if you're taking notes, if you have paper out, if you can put a little text message in your phone, this is a key point I would want you to write down. Boundaries are not barriers to love, they're containers for it. Oftentimes people won't make a boundary because they don't want to push people away. They don't want to look mean. They don't want somebody to feel a certain way, so they just don't put up a boundary. Boundaries are essential, necessary, not optional for healthy relationships. You can choose to not have any boundaries, but you will not also be able to exist in healthy relationships. It's just that bold and that simple. Okay, so Proverbs 4:23, just so you guys can see, for some of you that are like, I don't know if God approves of me having boundaries. I'm going to give you lots of verses that remind you is good and healthy. Proverbs 4:23 says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do, everything you are, flows from that place. So your heart, your essence of who you are, what you do in life, who you connect with, how you relate to God, who you view yourself as. That's what I think of when I hear my heart. Your heart is a sacred space. It is not meant to just be thrown out into the world to the first person who claims it, the first person who needs you, the first person who demands. It is your job to guard your heart. You're not in charge of other people's hearts. You're not in charge of other people's sacred spaces, but you are in charge of, and I would argue, you will be held accountable for how you guard your own heart. It's been given to you, this space inside of you. It's been given to you to steward. And then to contrast that with other people's, when I said it's not your job to take care of other people's heart, they have to guard their own. There's this verse in Galatians 6, and it talks about carrying each other's burdens. But then later in that same verse, it says, each one should carry their own load. I thought that was interesting because it's like, well, what is it? Am I supposed to carry someone else's burden? Or is everybody in charge of their own load? And I looked up a commentary on this, and it talked about the difference between a burden and a load. A burden is something that's too heavy to carry alone. It's too much. It's too big. Life is full of them. We're created for community. We need healthy people to come around us and help us carry the burdens of life. But your load, this commentary called it your daily responsibility. Your daily tasks, your daily monitoring your heart, watching the words that come out of your lips, allowing or taking captive the thoughts that go through your head. Those are your loads, and those are your things to steward. Mark 1:35-38 says, Jesus withdrew. He left to lonely places, and he said no to ministry demands. Like, that's all you need to hear. Jesus said no. He didn't even give reasons half the time. He's just like, I am leaving. He knew that it was his job to steward his heart, and being constantly available, constantly pouring out to people, constantly going and functioning. It's not maintainable for a human. It's not sustainable. I think especially when you're young, you can go without stopping. In my experience and what I've heard from a lot of other people is the older you get, that energy to go, it depletes. And you have to learn how to shut off, to go away to a lonely place, to withdraw without feeling guilty, because it doesn't go well for you when you start pouring from an empty cup. We are not meant to pour out all of the time. I know a lot of moms and wives fall into this. A lot of people who really love people fall into this. A lot of people with just servant hearts, they want to take care. They want to ease other people's burdens. It is so easy to just go, go, go because the needs will never end. This world will never run out of places where people need help. So you have to be the one to be able to recognize not only your breaking point, but before your breaking point. Like, I don't want you to wait until you're broken and sobbing on the floor to finally say, hey, I need a break. I want you to recognize the signs inside of you where you're like, oh, you know what? I think I'm not doing okay. I think I'm tired. I think I'm burnt out. I think I've been burning the candle at both ends. I am going to step away. I'm going to take time for myself. I'm going to ask for help before I crumble into 100 pieces on the floor crying. All right, so I'm going to ask you one question before I move on to a different part of this conversation. And it's just this question. Where are you saying yes in your life currently out of guilt or out of fear of rejection? You're saying yes, but not because you want to, not because you have capacity for it, not because it lines up with your life mission, but it's because you're afraid someone is going to be mad at you, which is that rejection piece. Or you just feel guilty, like, well, technically I have Thursday night available. It's my only night I have free this week, but technically I could volunteer. Okay, fine, I'll do it. That is your little red flag that should pop up for you. That's your cue. You want to say no so badly. Ask yourself why. Is it because you're afraid of guilt and rejection? All right, what are some signs that you need healthier boundaries? Let's do a quick little assessment and see where you kind of land in all of this. Because my guess is if you don't have great boundaries, you've been doing that your entire life and you don't even know that you have bad boundaries. You don't even know that you're lacking them because you've never had them. And it's hard to miss something that you've never had. This is another thing I would write down if you want to really dig into this concept. If you find yourself often living in chronic resentment is like frustration and anger mixed with this sense that you're being treated unfairly. Or another way to say that would be you're being taken advantage of. Someone is for sure taking advantage of you. Or you're just stuck in exhaustion. You don't have any more gas in the tank and you've got 50 miles to go. If you know just off the top of your head that you're a people pleaser and you'll say yes just to make people say, oh my gosh, thank you, you're so sweet. And you just can't say no to those people because you need that high, you need that affirmation. Those are signs that you maybe have unclear boundaries or you don't put up enough boundaries in order to keep yourself healthy and strong. So you can just ask yourself some questions like this. How do you feel after you say yes to things that you didn't want to? I know it is for me instant regret. I'm like looking at the person and my brain is going to say, no, you can't do it. It's not possible. You're going to regret this. And then I agree to do it because I'm conflicted and it is instant. It is not delayed. It is instant. The second it comes out of my mouth, I regret saying it. And yeah, I've gotten so much better at this as I've gotten older, but I will definitely still find myself saying yes to things that I know are not a good decision. The other thing I want to say to you guys is this is like something that I'm going to say and you're going to be like, oh yeah, I know about that. But you need to be reminded because I need to be reminded. You are not responsible for other people's emotions. I was just talking to a client the other day and they were telling me how their ex-spouse was a very volatile person. That spouse could not maintain their own emotional stability. Not to be demeaning, but it's my world. I've had 5 toddlers in my house. I can't even say I have toddlers anymore because my youngest is 4. But I have been responsible for a lot of people's emotions as a mom of 5. And the way that this person would describe their spouse, it sounded very much like their marital connection was more of a parent-child relationship because the spouse that they were talking about could not maintain any sense of stability, peace, kindness, without help. And of course, my client felt like they were in charge of their ex's emotions because their ex couldn't be in charge. They didn't have the capability or the willingness to control their own emotions. So in order to keep themselves safe and their kids safe, they had to literally own the emotion of their ex. That is a really, really tricky place to be in, and something that my client is now recovering from, because that is really, really hard environment to live in. But on a less personal scale, when you're at work and your coworker is spinning out, yelling and frustrated, you don't have to own their emotional experience. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to calm them down. You can put a little bit of space between you and whoever it is that's having a big emotional experience. If you are an empathetic person, you are going to feel the need or desire to fix it, to make them happy, to distract them, to calm them down. And I just want to give you permission. It is not your job. It is hard enough being in charge of our own emotions and regulating our own selves. And wouldn't it be a beautiful world if everybody would just regulate their own emotions? But especially in an environment where you have two adults, it's just not your job. If you're with someone who is not a healthy person chronically, emotionally, they are not healthy, they're going to probably try to convince you that it is very much your job to control and manage their emotions. But I don't want you to believe that. And if that's something you don't know how to exist in, or you don't know what to do other than control and manage their emotions, I would really encourage you for a season to just go get some counseling, because there are really good tools that somebody could teach you to help you maintain your autonomy separate from this person who continues to spiral like that. If you guys have ever read the book Boundaries, if you haven't, and this is at all interesting to you, read the book Boundaries. It's like the classic. Everybody's heard of it in this world. It's just called Boundaries. It's by Henry Cloud. And his research shows that when you've got these good, strong, clear boundaries, it lowers your stress and it increases your resiliency in life. Your nervous system can take a deep breath and drop its shoulders and okay, life isn't so bad when you just insert healthy boundaries. And you can put down a boundary really kindly. I used to think that if I was going to put down a boundary, I had to be intense and firm and mean about it. Otherwise, nobody would take me seriously, or nobody would hear me. And in parenting, you get a lot of practice in boundaries in parenting. I had to learn how to put down a boundary without losing control of my emotions, without losing my patience, without yelling, without intensity. And I learned that saying the boundary kindly and calmly actually put me in a more controlled, respected position anyway. Because if I'm yelling right alongside my toddler, well, now we're both unregulated. We're both kind of victims to our emotions. It is way more of a power move when the person in front of you is all dysregulated and upset, and you just stand there firmly with your feet planted on the ground, look them right in the eye and say, I'm not doing that. I'm not comfortable with that. I'll finish this conversation with you when you're more calm. From the outside looking in, it is no doubt who is in more control. The person flipping their lid, having a temper tantrum, or the adult who's able to take all of that and keep it under wraps and look someone straight in the eye and just use their strength in their words and not have to yell the message. Okay, so hopefully by now you've heard some things and you've been able to say you know what? I think I've got a good grasp on my boundaries. Or, yeah, I don't do these. I don't ever put boundaries down. Let's talk about what an actual boundary looks like. People throw that word around a lot on social media, I've got boundaries. What does that mean? Boundaries are very clear, kind, and consistent. So you're not changing them every day. You're not screaming them at people, and they're not vague. And they tell people where you end and they begin. It's like you have this circle of influence around you, and you get to decide what happens in that circle. That circle is your bubble. You get to decide how people talk to you. You get to decide, on a practical note, how close somebody stands to you, the kind of language they use towards you. Boundaries are a great way to just tell people what you are and are not willing to put up with or to exist with. This could include physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. This goes back to what we talked about at the beginning, like that gatekeeping. It's our job to steward our heart, because out of our heart is what everything comes from. So if you have someone in your space, whether it's a boss, a coworker, a neighbor, a friend, who is mentally distressing to you, mentally, verbally abusive or intense or antagonistic, you don't have to just put up with it. You can expect that people will and should treat you with respect. And if they are not capable or not willing, you have a say to remove yourself from the situation, bring in help, confront the person, and tell them what they are allowed to say to you or not allowed to say to you. If you have a coworker that cusses you out every time that they get upset with you, you can absolutely say to them, I'll be happy to talk to you about this when you're more calm. I don't allow people to cuss at me. And you know what? Yeah, they are for sure going to get mad about that, because they are not used to somebody being firm with them, putting down a boundary, and calling them out on their inappropriate behavior. I'm not saying that they're going to say, oh, wow, thanks for that insight. I will for sure stop cussing and tell you everything kindly now. No, it's probably going to make them mad, because if it's someone like that who's cussing out a coworker, they don't have the emotional maturity to respond well, probably, to what you just said. But just because they don't respond well to it doesn't mean what you did was wrong. Just because somebody is mad at you, it doesn't mean that you are in the wrong. My toddler would get mad at me if I didn't let them have a big piece of chocolate cake for breakfast. But that doesn't mean that it's wrong to withhold chocolate cake for breakfast. This is so important to learn. Just because your boyfriend is mad at you doesn't necessarily mean that you're in the wrong. You might be. You might have a part in it. You might be in the wrong completely. It's just not always. So, if you are an intense people pleaser and you hate conflict, the second somebody is mad at you, you are going to, I'm sorry, I'll do differently. Okay, I didn't mean it. Okay, fine, I'll be there on Thursday, because somebody's mad at you. I want you to learn to develop this muscle that can tolerate somebody being mad at you. Another visual I want to give you with boundaries is, imagine your boundaries are like something that goes around property that you own, goes around your yard. And I want you to think of that thing that goes around your yard not as a cement wall that blocks the whole world out, but as a fence. And this fence has doors in it, but you are the one that gets to decide if the doors are open or shut. That fence can allow people in. It can also escort people out. And the fence opens from the inside of the yard. So you have control and the ability to keep regulated, safe, healthy people within that fence. That is the stewardship. That's the decision-making that you get to have. You don't have to be a victim to just any person who wants to steamroll their way into your backyard. You get to say that kind of behavior, that kind of language, that kind of physical outburst is not allowed here. I want you to feel empowered by hearing this. I have met a lot of people who maybe you grew up in a home where anytime you were sad about something or mad about something, you got punished because it looked like you were having a temper tantrum. It was labeled as a temper tantrum and you were being naughty. So you got sent to your room, or you got a spank, or you got yelled at. Knock it off. Stop crying. And it wasn't because you were naughty and you had a temper tantrum. It's because you were just really sad and you were 5. So you didn't know how to express it in a mature adult way. You just knew to express it like a 5-year-old. And in those moments over and over and over again, where you kind of get punished just for being a kid, or you get punished for not knowing how to express things very maturely, you learn to just kind of stop having emotions. You stop expressing your needs. You stop saying out loud when something isn't working for you, because it's met with yelling. It's met with disconnection from your caregivers. If that's your story, then part of your work in growing up as a teenager, as a young adult, or maybe you're hearing this in your 40s, 50s for the first time, and you're wanting to start learning this now, but part of your work is going to be being comfortable with letting people know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And it's going to feel super awkward and uncomfortable, and you're probably going to hate it at first. And then you're going to start to feel really liberated. And you're going to be like, oh my word, this is what people have been doing. This is how good it feels to be able to have a say in my own life. Because here's the deal. You get to have a say in your own life. You are the main character. You are not here to be a supporting character in everyone else on this planet. You're the main character of your story. They are the main character of their story. They get to decide what kind of behaviors and languages and actions that they put up with. You don't get to decide for them. They don't get to decide for you. So learning these skills that I'm talking about here, protecting your capacity to love well, is a godly spiritual practice. It is not selfish. Keeping your heart in this unresentful, unburdened place, strong in your ability to follow God and not just to follow man, or to follow God and not to follow your flesh. That is a beautiful spiritual practice, and I want to remove all the guilt that could ever be heaped on top of that. 1 Corinthians 6:19 even says, you're not even your own. You were bought at a price by the blood of Jesus. So honor God with your body. Like the stress that our bodies go under when we don't have boundaries, when we're saying yes to everybody and we're completely exhausted, overwhelmed, and burnt out, that to me doesn't sound like honoring God with my body. I got to figure out how to get my body to a place of peace where it can rest and it can exist in peace. And I got to be able to follow the Lord in order to do that, which means I can't follow the requests of man all the time. Which means if someone is asking you, hey, can you volunteer on Thursday? Hey, can you meet me here next week? Hey, can you do this for me for free? Hey, can you? If you're a person who just automatically says yes, I want to give you one little tip, one little go-to phrase that you can say that will just create some space so you don't automatically say yes. After someone makes a request to you, you can just say, let me pray about it and I'll get back to you. Or if you're not a spiritual person, if that's not something you would say, you can say, let me check my schedule, let me talk with my spouse, and I'll get back to you. All you're doing is putting the answer on hold, and then of course actually get back to them. But instead of, it might be too hard to just jump straight to like, no, I can't do that. Just create some space. Let me get back to you on that. All right, I'm going to share one story with you guys, and I really hope that as this story unfolds, I can communicate the message I'm hoping to communicate. But it is about when I was newlywed, Midwesterner, middle child, people pleaser, hate conflict. And honestly, I am a very go with the flow person. Like a lot of stuff, I don't get bothered or offended easily. And so it is easy for me to just say, yeah, sure, that's fine. Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Because it doesn't rock me usually. But in those early years when we were learning how to be married, how to live in an apartment with a guy that's my husband, who's a different human, you know, when I'm used to being in college and having like my own space and my own everything, there's just so much to learn when you move in with your husband. And I really just, I wanted everything to work and I didn't want any conflict ever. I didn't know anything about how healthy relationships actually need conflict in order to have depth to them. And I didn't know that conflict was different than fighting. I just thought conflict was fighting. So if you're having conflict, it's a fight. And that sounded awful to me. So I avoided it like the plague. As my husband and I were existing in this newlywed space, it was an amazing first year. He worked at a airport, and so we got to fly for free anywhere we wanted to go on standby. And we had no kids, so who cares? Let's fly standby. We flew to Singapore for free, and we stayed at a YWAM base there. And I mean, it's like a dream. It was amazing. Our first year was amazing. But it was also difficult because anytime that we didn't feel connected, like emotionally connected, if there was disputes, if I felt like he wasn't holding up his end of the workload or whatever it was, I don't even remember the specifics. I just know that I would double down on like doing and serving and caring. And I think, and this is just my opinion, I think that what I wanted, and probably what a lot of women want and interpret love as, is like kindness and giving and servanthood. And so I would try to give that over and over and deeper and double down on the serving and the giving to my husband in order to try to create that connection that I was longing for. But men, in general, not all, men perceive and give love in this like area of respect, right? Like, I respect you. I want to hear what you think. Like, I honor when you exist in a room. I honor the way that you show up in the world. And I don't know what it was. And I know I'm going to struggle to put this into words. So hopefully this comes through. But it's almost like the more that I tried to love him in a woman way, like serving, doing, I would take on more and more. It's like it took all of that off of his plate. It enabled him to be more relaxed when that's the very thing I was trying to get him to like wake up to. And in a way, I wonder if it depleted that respect that not that he didn't respect me, but it's almost like I took this position of like, oh, you don't need to respect me. I'll just do more. Oh, I don't feel like you're helping. I'll do it. Don't worry. I'll take it. I'll make it. I'll clean it. I'll clear it. And when I learned later on in our marriage to not give more, do more, serve more, and to put a foot down and ask for help and say, let's divide this equally. Let's figure out what your role is. Let's figure out what my role is because I'm tired. I can't do all this anymore. He respected that about me. And he tells me that all the time because I used to be so passive and so compliant, and not even because he made me. That's just who I was. And he tells me all the time, do you remember who you used to be when you never would tell me anything of like anything you were frustrated with, anything you needed help with? And then you started to challenge me on things. You started to push back on things. You started to have a voice. He's like, I'm so glad you found your voice. And I don't know if this is what he means, but what I hear him say is, I respect that so much about you. Oh, he has this voicemail on his phone that he has saved. And I wish, it's so embarrassing because it is not me anymore, but it is the Laura that existed before she ever had a voice in anything. I don't even have anyone to blame for how I was. I just think it's just my personality. But this is a voicemail I sent to him when my oldest was in preschool, and I had bent down to change the diaper of our second born, and my back gave out for the first time ever. And I dropped to my hands and knees, and I was frozen there in the most excruciating pain I've ever been in my life. I couldn't move my leg without searing pain ripping through my whole leg up to my back. I couldn't lay down. I couldn't sit up. I was on my hands and knees, stuck, sobbing. And I had my oldest son, I can't even remember. Yeah, I had my son go get my phone, bring it to me. And I called my husband, and it wasn't like, Mason, get home now. I need your help. I am stuck on the floor. It was like, hey, if you could, whenever you get a second, and I'm like sobbing on this phone, I'm on the floor and I can't move. And, I've got these kids, these babies I'm in charge of. If you could just come home and help me get on the couch, like whenever you get a second. It's like, I didn't even have enough respect for myself or ability to speak. I don't know what it was, but it is like it's so weird for me to listen to that voicemail, because it is like I'm listening to someone I don't even know. I don't know her anymore. She just didn't have any needs ever. She didn't ever feel comfortable saying, that doesn't work for me. I need this from you. Even when I'm injured on the floor on my hands and knees, I couldn't turn to my safest person on the whole planet, someone who loves me, my own husband, and say, I have needs and I need you to drop whatever you're doing and take care of me. I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to be, I don't know what it was. But all of that to say, when I stopped being this super compliant person who just served more, gave more, and got burnt out, and it's like there was a level of respect that I got from my husband. Like, he liked that new version of me. And I think the same thing is true when you show up at work with your friends. You can be a person who kind of kindly but firmly, like you promote respect. You demand respect where you go, because you're a person who has boundaries and you know what you're willing to put up with. You know what you're worth. You know that you're not worth someone treating you that way, and you're not afraid to say it out loud. So I want to leave you with a little invitation, a little exercise that you can do if you want to go deeper with this. Read The Boundaries book by Henry Cloud. And then you could journal and just ask yourself, sit quietly, turn off your phone, get your computer shut, whatever it is. Just ask yourself, where is it in life that I'm overextending, that I feel burnt out in? Where do you feel dread when you look at your calendar? Or what person, when you get around them, do you automatically feel like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. I want to avoid them at all costs, and why? Write those down. And then once you've identified those problem areas, the next question is just, what boundary in this very specific thing would honor God and the life and the time on earth that He's given me, and protect my peace? What boundary would protect my peace in this area? And then just pick one of those and let that be your practice, this homework. Give yourself some homework for the week, and it could just be a small one, learning baby steps, how to stick up for yourself, how to have boundaries, how to have a voice in your world and gain back some of that power that you might have lost over the years. And if you know of anybody who maybe is just burnt out, is overextended, their heart is amazing, they care for the whole world, but you know that it's taking a toll on them, would you just share this episode with them? I think learning boundaries is a life skill that is 100% necessary for anyone existing on this planet, and it makes life so much more enjoyable. And then I'm going to end with 5 phrases that you can say, that you can memorize, that you could write on Post-it notes and put around your house until they're drilled into your brain, because this language is unfamiliar for you, and you need to borrow someone else's language until it becomes natural for you. And I want you to just practice saying these to yourself, letting your own ears hear your mouth say these when you're alone at your house, so that the first time you say them, it's not in front of a person where you could feel panicky about it. And it's just going to be sentences that sound like this. I love you, but I'm not able to say yes to that right now. It affirms your connection with them, reminds them that it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with you. I don't have capacity for that right now. Next one is, that's not something I'm available for anymore. It's kind, it's clear, it's consistent, and you don't need to explain why. A dear friend of mine many years ago told me, no is a complete sentence. It's very different than, hey, I'm so sorry, I can't do this anymore because, listen, okay, so my school schedule changed and now I have this and this and this. And I haven't been getting to bed till since before 1 a.m. every night because I'm doing all this homework and I really want to help you. And I know that you really need me there on Thursdays, but I just can't because I am so sorry. It's so different. That's not the energy we're going for. It's like, hey, it's been really great helping you on Thursdays. Thank you for the opportunity. My schedule's changed, so helping you on Thursdays is not something I'm going to be available for anymore. And you're done. And if they say why, you can just say, oh, my schedule changed. But it's been really great. Thanks for the opportunity. Just keep repeating yourself. Don't apologize profusely for holding a healthy boundary. Third one is, I need some time to pray about that before I give an answer. We talked about this one already. It's gold. You can definitely steal it to create some space between you and an answer so that you don't give an automatic yes that you're going to regret. Fourth one is, I'm not comfortable with that and I need to step away. So if someone is pressuring you into something, if someone is cussing you out or talking with a really intense tone, angry tone, they're trying to intimidate you, they're trying to bully you, you can just say, hey, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm going to step away for a few minutes. You're not telling them what to do. That's the difference between a boundary. A boundary you don't get to tell everyone else what to do. You just get to say what you allow. I'm not comfortable with this. So I am going to step away. I'm going to need some time alone. And then number 5 is, I care about our relationship, so I want to have this conversation when we're both calm. I have used that one so many times with a very emotional child who's very, very upset with not getting that cake for breakfast or whatever crazy thing it is that comes up when you've got kids in your house. I'll even say, hey, I'm having a hard time understanding you because of how upset you are. Take a deep breath. Could you try to say that again? That is specifically something I've said with my kids. But when you're talking with an adult, you could very easily just say, I'm uncomfortable with how intense this conversation's getting. Couldn't we please continue this once you've calmed down? Are they going to handle it well? Again, maybe not. And that's okay. Other people are in charge of their own emotions. So if they want to have an adult temper tantrum, that is their choice. But you don't have to get wrapped up into it. You don't have to try to fix it. And you don't have to alleviate their stress. You just have to be in charge of your own. All right, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. I could probably talk so much longer on this. Go read the book Boundaries by Henry Cloud. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week.
This is an ad by Regain Couples Therapy. Let's be honest, loving your partner doesn't mean you always like them, and guess what? That's normal. Regain, powered by BetterHelp, offers couples therapy that's flexible, affordable, and 100% online. Whether you're reconnecting or working through conflict, Regain is here to support you both. See why people wish they'd tried couples therapy sooner. Visit regain.com/couplespod to get 10% off your first month. That's regain.com/couplespod.
Dreaming of blissful summer days and creamy popsicles? Capture sun-drenched memories with the Orange Vanilla Dream Hydration Multiplier from Liquid IV. Just 1 stick and 16 ounces of water can help hydrate you better than water alone. Live your summer dream with Liquid IV. Tear, pour, live more. Go to liquidiv.com and get 20% off your first order with code INDULGE20 at checkout.